15 minutes after 8 o'clock on WAKR. And it's time to go to film school. Our good friend Joe Fortunato with us on WAKR, film professor. And each and every Friday, he now joins us looking at a certain film and going behind the camera a touch. And Joe, good morning, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Mother's Day weekend. So you picked out a terrific flick going back to the 1980s, my friend.
Good morning, Ray. Yeah, that's correct. So to celebrate Mother's Day coming up this weekend, I chose one of the great all-time mother characters in mother-daughter films, Terms of Endearment, from 1983, starring Shirley MacLaine and Debra Winger as that mother-daughter character. Also stars Jack Nicholson, excuse me, and Jeff Daniels and John Lithgow. It was written and directed by James L. Brooks. The film itself won the Best Picture Oscar. In fact, it won 5 Oscars altogether. Best Picture, Best Director for James L. Brooks, Best Screenplay for James L. Brooks, Best Actress for Shirley MacLaine, and Best Supporting Actor for Jack Nicholson. So it's a very lauded film, and I guess by today's standards, it's an older film, but sometimes we go back a lot further, so it's almost a modern classic to me.
Joe, when you look and you mentioned Jack Nicholson's supporting role, he played retired astronaut Garrett Breedlove. I personally think it was Jack Nicholson's best role ever. That's obviously up for debate, but I thought he was just terrific in this film.
I don't know if I agree with that, Ray. I think he was great. Jack's great in everything, but sometimes Jack just plays Jack, and I think that's one of these films here. I would certainly go with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as his best role, which is, I'm sure, something we'll discuss in a future Fortunato Film School segment.
When you talk about this film, though, as you mentioned, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, 11 nominations. The story covers what? Get into it, Joe. About 30 years of this relationship between mother and daughter. Correct.
And Shirley MacLaine plays Aurora Greenway, who's a very difficult woman, very headstrong, a tough mom, treats her daughter very difficult. The father is not in the picture, so it's really just the two of them. And it's kind of a love-hate relationship. They clearly love each other, but Shirley MacLaine is so tough on Debra Winger, and Winger ends up marrying Jeff Daniels' character against Aurora's wishes. They move away. He's a professor, and so he moves away, they move away, and they keep coming back, and eventually, and I don't want to give away spoilers here, but it's pretty well known, and we're talking about a few decades-old movie.
Yeah.
Debra Winger ends up getting cancer and passes away. And there's this relationship that spans, as you said, several decades, and it's a really beautiful relationship between the two of them.
From a film study perspective, we're talking with Joe Fortunato Film School here on Friday morning on the Ray Horner Morning Show. When you would look at this movie and present it to your class, what stands out to you from a film study perspective, Joe?
I think the writing and the acting in this and directing. I mean, I know that sounds kind of comprehensive, and maybe that's a cheap answer to give, but James L. Brooks is a great writer and director. You know, he also did films like Broadcast News, and he wrote great television shows. He also developed The Simpsons, for those who don't know. And kind of an interesting little piece of trivia: at the end of this film's production, Terms of Endearment, it was his first movie, so he actually won a Best Director for his first film that he directed. And Matt Groening, who drew The Simpsons, he gave James L. Brooks a Life in Hell cartoon book, and Brooks was so impressed that he asked Groening to create a cartoon short for the Tracy Ullman Show, which led to The Simpsons. So in some circuitous way, Terms of Endearment brought us The Simpsons.
Which is also interesting in this movie as well, if you go back to 1983, Joe, is we mentioned Jack Nicholson and Shirley MacLaine and the cast, Danny DeVito, Jeff Daniels, who has gone on to wonderful things, John Lithgow, but top billing in this movie went to Debra Winger, and this was at really the upswing of her career. She was top biller on this movie, Terms of Endearment.
Yeah, I mean, she was, on a hot streak at that time. She had done Officer and a Gentleman and Urban Cowboy and was, really one of the top actresses in Hollywood. She had her own trouble. She was notoriously difficult to work with on set, and that might have been partially because she was fighting a cocaine addiction at the time. So at one point, she and Shirley MacLaine got into a shoving match, and wow. She behaved erratically on set. In fact, there was some thinking that by industry insiders that maybe she should have gone for a supporting actress role, and she probably would have won instead of going for a best actress, I should say. And, they kind of split the votes, and Shirley MacLaine was not only awarded for her role as Aurora, but probably a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. When Shirley MacLaine actually won the award and started making her way to the podium for the Oscar, apparently, and this is legend, but she whispered to Debra Winger, "Half of this is yours," and Winger replied, "I'll take half."
Joe, how about, you don't see Debra Winger anywhere right now. Did she retire from acting?
More or less, yeah. I believe in I don't know all the details about this, so I don't want to give out incorrect information, but I believe there was a documentary about her not too long ago, so people who are interested might be able to look that up and check it out. I don't know if it's streaming somewhere or not, but that was definitely someone who was, top of the Hollywood heap for a while and hasn't really been heard of, in any recent stuff.
And of course, John Lithgow with those Akron ties, right, with his acting career.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Lithgow in this film is he was actually called in late to replace another actor who had the role. They took about 3 days to film his role, and he took a break from Footloose, which he was filming at the time, to do this role.
Excellent stuff. Film School, Joe Fortunato. Again, he is a current film professor, and he joins us Friday mornings on the show. Today, Joe has looked at Terms of Endearment. If you'd like to go back and listen to it again, it'll be posted at WAKR.net, WAKR.net in just a couple of minutes. Joe, my friend, thank you for the time. We'll reconnect next Friday at this time.
Thanks, Ray. See you next week.
You got it. Joe Fortunato with Film School. 93.5, 1590 WAKR.